Hey there, Jason Podolin with Up My Hockey, back with another Lessons from the Pro, and this one is good. This is about free Hubie. Jonathan Huberdeau just got benched, and we are going to unpack this little nugget. This has been all over the news stream, the news cycle, a $10.5 million player sitting on the bench for the entire third period. But the message that I'm going to relay here to this is timeless. There is a lot of things to unpack. There's a lot of things to learn from for aspiring players, for current players, and for parents and coaches out there as well. So we're going to watch the clip that I'm referring to from Sportsnet during the Sportsnet telecast. We're going to listen to it, and then we are going to break it down. Me and also from my former podcast, Shane Doan. And we're going to do what to avoid this, what to do in the moment, also what potentially we can think about to help us not get into the state that Jonathan Huberdeau appears to be in.
Well, Jonathan Huberdeau hasn't played a shift this third period, and he's here at the end of the bench, and that's hard to watch. I mean, it's a lonely place to be when you're singled out like this, and you have to sit there and accept it. And we've all been there, and it's hard to watch, kind of heartbreaking at times, but that's what sports is.
It's results business, and whatever Ryan Huska figured would work has worked.
And it's
the
working.
Flames have fought back. That's right, to take the lead here in the third period.
Yep.
So there you're looking at a player that is an absolute shell of himself. And you're seeing the human side of the player. I always say there's the player and then there's the person behind the player. And right there you are seeing the person behind the player. Kelly Rudick calls it heartbreaking, hard to watch. And the body language says 1,000 words there. I think we all know how he's feeling. And he doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know the type of player he is. He doesn't feel that he belongs. There's all these things that are happening there, and we have to remember the context of where he is. I mean, he's on the bench making $10.5 million at a point in the game that his team is actually winning. They're up 3-2 now at this point, and when they started the period, they were down 2-1. So there is absolutely no energy being shown there from a team standpoint. Like, he is completely wallowing in his own emotions. And this is natural. I mean, we can look at that and see that there is a human experience happening there. Now, the problem is that hockey is a team sport. Hockey has 19 other guys on that bench that are trying to win a hockey game. And there are points when it's not going to be happening for you or in the way that you wanted it to happen, but it is still about the whole, the collective whole, that we should try to shift our focus towards. Because even though Jonathan Huberdeau is making $10.5 million in hockey as a hockey player, and he identifies as himself as somebody that should be on the ice, contributing to wins, contributing to offense, being an offensive driver, in this one particular scenario, he wasn't. He wasn't where he wanted to be, and he took himself out mentally, emotionally, and physically from the game and from the rest of his team. And I want you to listen here to something that Shane Doan says that I think you will find very, very appropriate to this situation, and it's something that you can think about now. So when you get into a situation potentially, and not even a situation like Jonathan Huberdeau where you're benched, but just thinking about the times that you are not on the ice as a hockey player. Let's listen to what Shane Doan has to say.
Wait. So you matter, and I think everyone wants to feel like they matter, and everyone wants to feel like they're important, and you matter when you're on the ice. But when you get off the ice, you have to be able to release that and be a teammate and watch and cheer and be somebody that's helping just from the sidelines. And there comes a humility with that that I think, as you said, just by being in the sport, you start to realize, wow, if I want to have success in this sport, I got to figure out how that works, and I got to figure out how that goes, that impacts my teammates, how I impact my teammates. For a 60-minute game, I'm only actually on the ice for 20 minutes of it if I'm, a high-end player.
Yeah.
So then I got to figure out how the other 40 minutes I'm capable of helping. Like, am I dragging the team down? Am I being a drain, or am I being a fountain? Am I a guy that's pumping more into my teammates? Like, how is my coaching? Am I distracting my coach? Am I helping my coach? Am I listening? Am I able to react and change what I'm doing in a game? And that part of our game is special and unique, and unlike any other sport. Like,
Wise words from Shane Doan, one of the game's all-time great leaders, and one of the all-time greats of the game. And if we're going to listen to anybody, I think that his words really do matter in this scenario. What are we doing when we're not on the ice? Oftentimes we don't think about that as players. We're thinking about our time on the ice, our performance, what we're doing, how we're operating, how we're impacting the game. Yet there's majority of the time we are not on the ice. And we still need to win hockey games. So in this scenario, when I'm working with athletes, when I'm working with young players, and I'm working with the junior players, we are working on, yes, can they reset? Can they find the emotional state required to play their best hockey? And that is a huge component of playing your best hockey. But we're also working on, how do we make the people around us better? How do we increase our value to the group? That is a big piece. When you see Jonathan Huberdeau there, he is not providing value to himself. He's not providing value to his teammates. He's not providing value to anyone. And the thing is, Jonathan in that moment isn't recognizing it. That's all it is. He has not been able to make a choice to act differently. And there is an opportunity, always an opportunity to act differently. Your mindset is a choice. Your decisions are a choice. If he recognized for 1 millisecond how he looked, what his body language was telling him and everyone else around him, and that he was a part of a bigger thing in that moment, which is trying to win a hockey game, he would have responded much differently. Now, if I was working with Jonathan Huberdeau, we would be watching that together. We'd be looking at that. I'd be asking Jonathan, what could he do differently next time? How could he provide value? How could his emotional response be something that would benefit him and benefit his teammates? Not to mention that he looks really dejected, sad, hurt. I would be talking to him about, how do we turn that into anger? How do we turn that into something fierce, something that's passionate, something that's going to help you play on the ice? So for Jonathan, I promise you, he is not a selfish individual. There's no way he got to where he was to be the player that he is by being selfish. Yet in that moment, he comes across as selfish, as childish, as depressed and pouty. Now, that is not Huberdeau's best version of himself. The key is to have the self-awareness in the moment, to be able to build on the fundamental ideas and criteria that allow you to flourish when the times are the toughest. That's hard to do, but it is something that you can practice. People say that you cannot build your character, you can't change your stripes. I don't believe that. I believe that you can change. I believe that you can show up differently when you want to. All it takes is intention and a willingness to do so. If that did happen to Jonathan Huberdeau again, he could totally respond differently. And he could respond authentically differently if he starts to see the situation differently. And that would be the case in this scenario. I need to be helpful. I need to provide value. I need to be a good teammate. In that moment, it's not about Jonathan Huberdeau. It's about the Calgary Flames. And if he would take that type of perspective into his next game with a ferocity and a passion that is not going to happen again, that I am going to bring the fire required to stay on the ice, then this is going to benefit the group as a whole, which makes our sport one of the best in the world because it constantly reminds you it's not about you. You have to stay humble. The humility matters. And when we get that piece right, I think really, really good things can happen on a personal level and on a team level. So until next time, you play hard and keep your head up.